There he is, locked and loaded. And, of course, our friends at Welt Rheaume, they're the reason why we have this segment every week, and they're a reason why we are here every single day, and we appreciate them. And if you need two lawyers that you can count on, call them 954-966-4646. We are in hurricane season, rain season, so if you have any issues, call them. They'll send their adjusters. Never call the insurance companies. Never. Call Welt Rheaume first. They send their adjusters, and then they attack the insurance company for you. All right, David, where do we start, bro? I thought Waller was in good shape. In fact, he was doing like Ironman contest and shit like that. So why the pup list? What did you pick up from that?
Well, Mike McDaniel said that that's his standard operating procedure for a player who is coming off the extreme of coming out of retirement. Now, of course, everyone's going to have the thoughts of, like, say, Odell Beckham last year, where that was a separate extreme. It was he actually had an offseason knee issue procedure done on the knee where people didn't know about it then, and then it came to light, and that was the reason he was on PUP, and then actually lasted on PUP the whole training camp. I don't think it's one of those issues. I think it's just, hey, Darren Waller hasn't played football in now almost 2 years, 1.5, let's call it, and he's coming out of retirement. And Mike McDaniel said he's in great shape. Tyreek Hill, he said it too when he saw Darren Waller. He had the funny thing where he said. He knew him as someone who was, in his terms, I think he put it as a fat boy, but that he saw him in great shape when he reported on yesterday. So I think, I just look at it as that. It's just player coming out of retirement, not something to be concerned about now, but if he goes deep into training camp and he's still on the PUP list, then it starts to be worrisome.
I call it complete bullshit.
Total
bullshit. He was doing Ironman contests or whatever it was called that he was doing. Go look at his IG. He's in great shape. He has a long
that's why.
He has a long injury history. Plus, he's been in the facility for the last week and a half or two. So he's probably been working out there on his own. So that's light. You just watch practice where they can have them work individually. They're not on pad. They're not in pads now. They won't be in pads till like Saturday or Sunday. Probably they won't be in pads, or Monday or something. I don't know what day it is, but it won't be for several days. So you can bring them along slowly at the same time. I think did you see him out there at all?
I did not find him out there. And even like Aaron Brewer was someone who didn't participate, and we did see him there, which was interesting to me. Right. It was interesting to me that Aaron Brewer was even not practicing because he's not on any PUP list or anything like that. So I wonder if it does have to do with a contract or if he is dealing with something. I saw him have a compression sleeve on his right leg, the Dolphins center. But on Waller, I mean, you're right. That's why I'm saying. I mean, he is in great shape overall. Maybe it's just not football shape. He's not ready for the football action. But what I always worry about
no football action. There's
that's the thing. Going on. So he's not going to be on the same acclimation schedule for the other players who are getting reacclimated to just practicing in football with no pads, and then eventually work themselves to shells and helmets, and then eventually full pads. But he'll be on a different schedule. So that's always what worries me with those type of deals.
Yeah, to me, I call it bullshit. There's some going on there. He tweaked something already as it is, and maybe that's why they're covering up for him now, because it'll be a bad look for them that they just signed him and he was working out. And just go check out his injury history. It is a long injury history that this player has. So at first, I'm just going to call bullshit on that one. All right, on the Eichenberg one, I got to say I'm not that worried whether he's out or not. Who said a la izquierda anyways? You know what I'm saying? So this isn't a guy that is going to add that much. And who knows, Daniel Brunskill might end up being better than Eichenberg. So I don't even know how to look at that, if it's such a bad thing or not, to be quite honest. matter.
Yeah. So it's going to be weeks for Liam Eichenberg. So who knows where that puts him by the end of camp and going into the regular season. It's too far out for us to be able to tell now. But telling that Mike McDaniel's already calling it weeks. So obviously we're not privy to what exactly he is dealing with preseason and training camp. The Dolphins don't. It's not an injury report where they don't have to reveal player injury information. So all we know is that he is out for now. And Brunskill. So out with Eichenberg for now. Brunskill comes in. He's a guy who has experience under Mike McDaniel running similar outside zone concepts in San Francisco. He was a starter for a few seasons where Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator with the 49ers, was run game coordinator. So he knows them well. They're reunited here now in Miami. He's a guy with a lot of positional versatility. He's played a lot of right guard, but I mean, has played everything from tackle to I feel like he could snap the ball as well and play center. So he can play just about any position on the line. And Mike talked about him as a competitor from what he knows about him being with him previously. So I'm excited to get to see what he can do as someone who is familiar with this system.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it could be an upgrade. It might not be. Who knows? Whatever. It's one of the themes that I've been trying to tell people constantly that is going to be tough about this team, David. There is no depth on this team. It's a very superficial team. And any injuries are really going to cause problems for this team because they're not very good when it comes to their backups overall, right?
Yeah, probably you look at a lot of positions and you're worried about depth. I'm with you. And any group in particular you want to focus on, or
No,
just overall?
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who it is, really. If you look
Mhm.
at it, maybe you have a third pass rusher, okay, but you still have two
Yeah.
injury-prone pass rushers, and if you lose them,
Right.
it puts you in a really difficult position. Offensive line, you have no depth if anybody goes down, unfortunately. Secondary, you have no depth whatsoever. Linebackers, you have no depth whatsoever. It just goes on and on and on. Maybe receiver is the only thing that you may have some depth, I guess. That's about it. But there just isn't. There isn't depth anywhere, dude. And it's just a lot of question marks. And that's why this is football. Look at the first day. Matos goes down. Artie Burns, your secondary is already terrible as it is, and Artie Burns is on crutches,
Yes.
apparently. Waller's not even playing, and supposedly he's in great shape. And you haven't even started hitting yet. It's crazy, dude. You haven't even had these practices and scrimmages against other teams.
Yeah.
Be tough, bro.
Uh,
Long season.
Yeah. The Mato situation, obviously, just a scary one. One of those freak deals. He's hospitalized and airlifted. So we don't want to speculate on whether could it be head, neck, spinal. All the things that could happen when you're placed on a backboard and airlifted. So hopefully he gets well. Someone who
Hopefully he's all right, but he's more of
right.
a experimental player than anything
Yes.
else.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's just one of those. Hopefully the health scare is not a serious thing. That's all.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to with him too. Is just right. He's a player on the international player program, the Dominican Republic. So, it, it, a roster long shot, you would definitely call him. Someone who's getting an opportunity through that program. But I mean, you look at those positions you mentioned. Uh, Cornerback, so in the secondary, all right, cornerback, you don't even know if you have your first group, let alone any depth for a second group. At safety, I kind of do like because they have some fringe starters who now, especially with the addition of Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, Fatu Melifanu is right now on the non-football injury list, but Mike McDaniel said it's more preventative than anything serious. So if that's true, then I think he's a solid player when healthy, but that's a big question mark with
But
his
no
injury
depth.
history.
But no
Yeah,
depth.
but I mean, I like Ashton Davis. I think is a decent ball hawking type of safety who, if he's on your second team, Elijah Campbell has grown under Anthony Weaver, a
Actually, that's
special
a pretty
teamer
good.
who,
Yeah, those are pretty good. That's a good
yeah,
one, actually.
I like the rookie Dante Trader too. So I think at safety, whoever those guys are, Patrick McMorris, who they drafted the year before, whoever those guys are that aren't starting, maybe you have some pieces to rotate in, but maybe safety is kind of the one spot
No,
and wide
safety, yeah.
receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm
Safety.
looking like there is some depth.
Yeah. Weaver.
Guys,
Weaver.
yeah,
That's his thing.
yeah. He'll find ways to mix and match. I think there and
No,
pass rush
and
if
that's
all
his
are
thing.
healthy, those pass rushes. Yeah,
That's his thing in the secondary is to have strong safety. So maybe
yeah.
that's where he at least is starting to build, what he needs in that part of the secondary. But overall, the depth is going to be rough, for this team, and that's where you don't hope to have a lot of injuries because it's going to be really hard to overcome. All right, so let's talk about some of the other things. What do you know about the Artie Burns situation?
Yeah, just early on in practice, he had to come off. The team was in the indoor, one of the early periods of practice, and yeah, later seen on crutches. Um, uh, so obviously hurts to see him go down as a local kid who's coming to the Dolphins and first training camp practice with the Dolphins. So, but obviously on the wrong side of 30 right now. So a player you didn't really come in with expectations of him lifting the secondary or anything like that. Yes, former first round pick, but that was a long time ago now. I think he was a 2016 class maybe. So coming out of UM and Miami Northwestern, but that's not who you're counting on. I asked Mike about the cornerback and the pursuit of one of the veterans still out there, and he said they're not closing the door on that, but he also expressed some belief in the young guys that they do have. So maybe they let this play out early on in camp. But with bodies going down, BJ Adams was another one who got hurt in today's practice. I did see him out there trying to do some stuff afterwards, so maybe he's okay. But to see two corners actually go down on day one when you're already thin there and don't know if you have a real first line, then that's troubling to say the least.
All right, so it's BJ Adams, right? Burns, Matos, Eichenberg, Waller. Anybody else get banged up or missing practice?
Right, the safety Milifanu on the non-football
Oh yeah,
injury list.
right.
Yeah, so Eichenberg, I think you mentioned everyone else. Yeah, Brewer, we didn't see, but yeah, not sure what the situation is because he's not on a PUP list or anything. But or we saw him, but he wasn't participating in practice.
And what's it called? The D lineman that everybody was trying to make a deal about it. Sealer, he practiced, right?
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. We saw Zach Sealer out there with the first team, where he's supposed to be the first time the Dolphins defense as a whole lined up in 11s. So yeah,
Just out of curiosity, have you heard Drew Rosenhaus say at all on Channel 7 that there are negotiations going on between the Dolphins and Eichenberg? I mean,
okay.
and Sealer.
Sealer. Okay, yeah. I didn't know if you were gonna. That's why I smiled a little bit. I didn't know if you were gonna go with one of your like remarks about Rosenhaus's contracts, like you did with Janu
Yeah, I
and
know,
yeah,
I know.
Sealer was.
But I'm wondering, have you heard? I haven't heard anything. Right? There has been nothing. Right?
Right, not at this time. So yeah,
I
not
get the
sure where
feeling.
negotiations stand. Yeah,
Okay,
he stayed away from that question last Sunday.
right, exactly, and they're not going to press him there, obviously, because that's just a promotional piece that they do on Channel 7. And so, in the end, I think it's what I said. I think he gets his contract, but towards the end of the year, especially after the trading deadline, when they're able to move Tyreek slash Chubb, and then they'll open up cap space, and then they can start to deal and move the money for next year moving forward. Is there the part I have to plead ignorance here is there a part in the regular season where you can start to negotiate where the numbers don't affect the current year, it goes into the next year?
Mm.
If there's not,
Well,
then you literally have to wait till you trade Chubb or Tyreek because you're not going to go to Tua and guarantee more money because you don't even know if Tua is going to play smart the next 2 years. You've got to keep your flexibility with Tua so you can get out of his contract in 2 years if he plays stupid. If he plays smart, then you're fine and he's great and you can guarantee more money and all that. But if he starts doing the stupid thing and throwing his body around and all that, you got to be able to get out. There's not a lot of places that you're going to go to open up that kind of money. So I really feel like the Sealer thing cannot be done until later on in the season because of their cap space and their situation. So your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works mid-season. I'm trying to think of other examples. Maybe we'd have to look back at the Austin Jackson situation because I know he was a mid-season contract extension where it was the 2023 year when he proved he could stay healthy and he was a valuable asset to that offensive line. And as his situation was pending before he was going into his fifth-year option at that point, and Robert Hunt was set to be a free agent, then Austin Jackson was the one whose contract issue they settled, similar to defensive tackle when it was Zach Sealer that time around before the season started, and it was when Wilkins was in negotiations as well. So they settled on that it wasn't going to be Wilkins, and then Zach Sealer got his money there. So yeah, I mean things can always mix and match. So it always when money isn't going to be committed one place and that's sort of finalized, and if there were some midseason trades, then I could see how that would play a role potentially in a midseason move, especially if Zach Sealer is continuing to play how he has the previous 2 years and showing that he'll be 30 at the start of the season. So if he's showing that 30 is not any kind of detriment to his play.
Defensive tackles, bro, play
Yeah,
well into their 30s.
yeah,
That
yeah.
that 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 is all. That if anybody starts writing that stuff just to create sensationalism, that's a
Oh
loaded.
no, no,
I'm just telling you overall, it's a
no, no one's
loaded.
saying it. Yeah,
When it comes to defensive tackles, 30 is not a number that you worry. You worry about that with running backs and wide receivers and all
yeah,
that. You can worry about that. You can worry about it even with defensive ends. But
right.
defensive tackles, bro, they have a tendency of playing well into their 30s and playing well, by the way, well into their. They play in a phone booth. They don't
Right.
have to run long distances like running backs or defensive ends or receivers or anything like that. They play in a phone booth. They play within a 10-yard box. So if they have the power and the first step, they usually can survive for a long time. Man, we just lost a guy that was a stellar player. And how old was Calais Campbell?
Oh yeah, Calais Campbell is going. He's going to be 39 before the start of the year.
Keith Tractor
So
Trailer was here and he was deep
yes, yes,
into his 30s, bro. Please. Defensive tackles, 30 is that's why I think the Dolphins are kind of in a good position because they could easily give Sealer an extension into his 30s to 33, 34 with no problem and no concern whatsoever because he's professional. He takes care of his body. He plays with fire and desire. He has all the same traits that the guy just left to Arizona had. Same dude. You can trust a guy like that into his 30s.
yeah,
Definitely.
certainly.
Definitely.
And Zach Sealer is a guy who I would trust just overall based on his work ethic as well. That he's not a guy that you would worry on just to take it to another level about getting paid and then he's not working as hard. He will continue to work his ass off. That's Zach Sealer.
All right. So Tyreek Hill had his usual bullshit segment that he has. Oh, I'm sorry about that. But he had it yesterday and lied to everybody about maturity and all that. And by the way, somebody explained to Tyreek that he's the only one dealing with maturity. You know, Mike McDaniel's maturity issues is as a coach that he has to develop to become a more experienced coach, but nobody else has maturity issues off the field. Nobody else is quitting on your team. Nobody else is doing any of the stuff that Tyreek Hill does. So let's all agree that we don't believe in anything that he says. Correct on that, right? You're good with that?
Oh, as far as if Tyreek bullshits us,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
he's a known bullshitter. Yes.
Yes. He's a known bullshitter. Okay, so we know that we can't believe anything in Tyreek. Okay, but today was a beautiful day because the only person that has actually said something that will challenge Tyreek and will kind of put him in his place was Tua. When you
Yeah.
guys asked him about working on his, oh, well, it's a work in progress now. And Tua's the only guy. McDaniel will BS you and lie to you guys and lie to all of us about how fantastic he is and how they believe in him and all that. And Chubb will say, oh, everything's all right and all that. Tua was the only guy that at least put the guy's feet to the fire and said, just like the rest of us, yeah, dude, we'll see. We'll see. Talk is cheap. I'm going to paraphrase for Tua. Tua today said about Tyreek, talk is cheap. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that Tua came forward and said that. Tua gave us the real there in that moment. He wasn't going to just um, say whatever company line, and I'm sure a lot of people within the Dolphins organization are totally fine with what he said. But it was truth. It was real. It was what a lot of people, a lot of teammates who were on last year's team who are returning to this year's team are probably feeling about Tyreek Hill with the way last season ended. He took himself out of that final game prematurely. He had that locker room outburst about talking about that he wanted out. I'm out. He wanted out from the organization, wanted to find a new home next year. Walked back those comments almost immediately within the weeks after that finale at the Jets at MetLife Stadium in that post game locker room. But those wounds don't just heal overnight or over one off season. It takes some time. Yeah, I mean, players who are getting back into the locker room and seeing him around, they remember that. So, yeah, it will take some time. It's not just something that you flip a switch and Tyreek Hill says, like Tua put it, you don't just come back and say, "Hey, my bad," and everything's back to normal just because it's a new year. That's not one where you just, oh, I'm not here to talk about last year. No, you got to address that with everybody, especially if you're the star player on a team, uh, getting paid what you're getting paid, getting all those guarantees that were added just that before that very season. And the organization did right for you, and then a year later, because it didn't end the way you wanted it, you're already making those season-ending remarks and comments and going off like you want to leave and walking it back immediately after. You can't do that. You can't behave that way. So good for Tua. That shows some leadership right there from the Dolphins quarterback. That star player who he's got some years on him, and that as Tua was going into year three, he was brought in. So Tua always had to kind of like look up to him, or like as a younger quarterback, you can't really tell him too much. I feel like that was a huge step up for Tua from a leadership standpoint in saying, "Nah, bro, like that shit doesn't fly.
Right.
We're not doing that here."
I loved it. I thought it was right on target, and somebody needs to say it because everybody else is just spewing fluff around Tyreek, and that really you're more of an enabler when you're doing that than really actually looking out for him. And it's better to call him out because he needs to be called out. And I'm glad that Tua did that. Anything else stand out to you from the Tua conversations with the media?
See, from the Tua conversation, yeah, I mean, working to get that connection back with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I'm trying to remember what he said about it, but yeah, he touched on Johnu Smith leaving. I got to play that one back to remember. So, yeah, and staying healthy, obviously a huge primary concern. Yeah, also talked to Austin Jackson on that front. Asked him the question as his blindside protector, the right tackle for a left-handed throwing quarterback, and I loved how Austin Jackson said he really takes pride in that responsibility of being Tua's blindside blocker. But of course, it's going to come down to a lot of so he said he's got to be more selfish and not selfless. Where that's what that was telling is that that's what he feels he's doing when he's trying to make a play, when he's putting
Yes,
his head at risk, is that he's being selfless. He's being one for the team,
exactly.
but he's got to realize no. And what the selfless and selfish thing both is to protect yourself and slide and not make a play. So that's what
By
the
the
team
way,
really
being
wants him to do.
selfish becomes selfless
Yeah, yeah,
because
it's interesting.
being selfish allows you to be available, which
Yeah.
by being available becomes selfless for the team because if you have to rely on backup quarterbacks, we know what the end result is. So, do the smart thing, young man. We get it, bro. We know that you're the warrior. I get it, bro. I get you got the Napoleon complex. I totally understand that, Tua. I get that you were probably Napoleon in another life. It was that's who Tua probably was, is Napoleon. But he's got to pass up the stupidity, bro. He doesn't have the body to sell out. Just by the way, just like Drew Brees didn't have the body to sell out, or Joe Montana. You know what I'm saying? They kind of just passed the ball and they weren't selling out their bodies, and it worked out just fine for those guys. He can do the same thing, dude.
Yeah.
Before you came on, now the MLS announced it, but Messi's not playing in the All-Star game, and I'm an Inter Miami fan. And I was saying, because he had played all these games the last couple of weeks and even on short rest, I would not play him in the All-Star game. I would do the selfish thing for my team, the selfless thing for the league. It doesn't help Inter Miami. You're only going to put a Messi at a bigger risk of injury. So now Messi and Alba are out. And to me, I'm glad they're being selfish, because the selfless act doesn't pay for you in the long run, just like with Tua. The selfish act of trying to make that tackle on the guy that intercepted you, bro, that's not really being a selfless person in the end. You're actually being selfish because you're making it all about yourself when you have to
Yeah.
make it about the team and stay back and say, no, bro, I don't belong there because I'm going to hurt my team by getting hurt.
Right. Yeah. In his comments, that was the interesting thing, is that he views the selfish act as being the one who slides, being the one who like, he views that as selfish, as like, oh, I'm protecting myself. I'm not doing it for the team. But it's truly, the selfish thing is thinking you yourself have to make something happen. Um,
Amen.
and although he does it in the the perspective of helping the team, but that's not like he's got to now fix that. Which one's selfish? Which one is selfless? And I think he's on the right track, at least
Well,
mentally. Now, in the moment, we got to see if he turns words into actions.
just like Tyreek, right? Except we're talking about
Yeah, yeah,
different things.
full
Talk,
circle. Yeah, yeah,
talk is cheap. Talk is cheap.
yeah.
We need Tua to show us with actions that he's willing to take care of his body and have the discipline to stay out of certain plays. And then we've got to see that Tyreek has the discipline to be a professional on and off the field, which is something that he totally lacks. And so then, yeah, that's the other monster. All right, dude, I'm not going to put you in a terrible position about practice, because it's practice at this point is a joke. But is there anything out there that stood out without pads and without real hitting or anything? Anything that you could hang your hat on for Dolphins out there?
As far as a player, and I know it's like a broken record, but Eric Ezukama made a couple plays.
Okay.
Yeah, easy season, baby. So yeah, I took a couple intermediate routes.
We
One of
heard
them from
we
Zach
heard
Wilson.
Tanner Connor did too, right? Did
Huh?
Tanner Connor also
No.
made a play or two that he showed his speed or something like that?
Ah, see, here's where I get you. Tanner Connor, he fumbled today. Yeah, so no, stock down now on Tanner Connor.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So actually, right. This is the real. All right, this isn't just
Good.
this
Good.
isn't just training camp fluff, right? So Tanner, I wish I saw who punched the ball. It looked like someone did like a Peanut Tillman type of punch to it, and so I didn't catch that. But then Cam
Somebody
Smith was the
somebody
one
said
who
it was
recovered it.
Sean Smith, and I'm like, wow, Sean Smith is back. I didn't know that they signed the 36-year-old at this point.
Well, maybe you saw Cam Smith recovered the fumble.
Oh,
Maybe that's what
Cam
he's.
Smith. That's what it was. They got their Seans and their Cams. Wow. By the way, that would be actually a positive if Cam is making a play. That would be a
Yeah. It's a fumble recovery, so it's kind of like right place, right time. Ball comes to you. He
By the way,
scooped it up, and
Cam
he was
Smith
smooth
made
with
it.
it though.
Wait a minute. Cam Smith made it through a practice?
Yeah,
Whoa.
absolutely.
Wow. Holy crap. Is that the headline in the Sun Sentinel tomorrow? 3-inch headlines. Cam Smith makes it through practice.
You kill me, bro.
Headliner on Pro Football Talk. Give it to Florio. Cam Smith makes it through day one of practice. Show that film, bro. Show that film. People won't believe you. They're going to call you a liar, David Furones.
You think Cam Smith is that high on Mike Florio's radar?
I don't know, but today Mike Smith was kind of high, talking about the team improving and maturing, and the players and him maturing, and the media and the fans maturing, and I'm like, wow, that's really high. Like I'm thinking I need that stuff that he's getting. You know what? You know the quote I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, from Mike this morning. He had a
Yes.
30-minute session. So, but
You know
yeah,
that even
right.
you, the beautiful media, has to mature and all that, or whatever. However, that like I'm like, yo, flower child, what's up with you? What's going on here? I'm just like expecting him to say peace, love, happiness. I don't know. It was kind of weird, that soundbite, bro. It's kind of weird.
Mm.
It's kind of
Yeah.
odd.
Another thing with Kemp is that they're starting earlier this year, so I don't know if that has to do with this culture that's change that's going on, but that's one thing that Mike McDaniel is doing is the earlier start times. So he was up here at 8:15 for the press conference, and then 9 o'clock practice. I think usually there would have been like 10:30 in the past training camps. So that's one thing, and yeah, I mean they practiced in some rain
Practice ended
today.
at
So
what time? Practice ended at what time?
what was it? Around 10:30 thereabouts. So an hour and a half.
Wow. That's awesome, because then you can play slip and slide leading into the noon. So that's great. Were there slip and slides going on today? Because,
Are
I
you?
used to play the slip and slide all the time when I was a kid, but I see the Dolphins now do it to, build chemistry and culture there, slip and
Yeah.
slides.
You're talking
So,
about that video from the end of minicamp.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Teams
Slip.
do that. They do the end of minicamp. It's like you're about to go into 6 weeks or 5 weeks or so of being off, and teams do like some fun like end
I
of
know.
off season workouts type of
They've
thing
ones
before.
that used to play a softball game.
Okay, yeah.
You guys know about that?
Any stories? I
Yeah.
don't know about it. Any
Oh,
stories? Of who
wow.
was
Let
good? Who
me
was
tell
good?
you, Mark Dixon was a hell of a softball player. Jay
Woo.
Fiedler. Jay Fiedler was a hell of a softball player, bro. He could swing,
You
catch the
crank one
damn
out.
ball. Tim Bowens couldn't play softball if his life depended on it.
Oh
I think
man.
Zach Thomas also sucked. Um, I'm just being honest. Yeah, no, I remember, but they would have softball games for a couple of years. The end of training camp, or no, not the beginning of, not like a mini camp. I'm talking about training camp. The last day of training camp, there was a
Training camp.
softball game for a couple of years. They would do that, actually. Yeah, it was a trip.
Yeah.
It was a trip.
I'd love to see
It was
some of the
fun. It
faster
was fun
guys.
to see. It was fun to see how many football players cannot play baseball, bro.
The coordination, hand-eye coordination
Yeah,
of ball to bat.
there's a high pitch, and they're swinging and missing, dude. It's hilarious. So they're
Oh,
burying themselves in the ground and everything. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
oh man, I'd love to see some of the fast guys just hit a grounder into the hole at short and just
Yeah.
get to first
OJ,
before the ball's even
OJ,
fielded.
OJ.
Okay, yeah, OJ would do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's certain guys that were going to, OJ, you could tell was that dude that can play all sports.
Mm,
He was like a real
nice.
athlete. Like some guys are just athletic in one sport.
Right.
McDuffie, you could tell, was that dude that like he could play baseball and basketball and football, and you're going to play darts and he'll throw darts with you, and whatever it is, you could tell he was that all-around athlete, OJ McDuffie.
I could see that. Yeah.
Oh no,
For sure.
trust me, it's that.
Mhm.
With that dude, it's that. It was that. What else did I miss? Anything else to talk about on the anything else? Tyreek's kids don't recognize him. They recognize Justin Jefferson.
That
That
was
was
a real highlight yesterday.
that was
That was fun.
that
Yeah.
was that was funny. That was good. That was good on his part to make light of the whole situation, and have a little fun with it. So that I give him credit for that. It's not to really take it literally, you know what I'm saying? But it was fun that he made light of it and all that good stuff. So I thought that was good. All right, what do you got going on in the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
I've been covering. It's training camp time, so just locking in. It's every day covering practices and these press conferences behind us. Yeah, today we did get to speak to Tua, so I have that already up on our site. What Mike McDaniel was saying this morning, all the different updates that we touched on the guys who were injured, the cornerback pursuits, Zach Sealer situation. So yeah, I'll be updating those, and then right back at it. It's only day one. Just
right
back at it.
And by the way, you guys also asked about a corner, and I know he showed like confidence that in the group, and that he also said, well, we're not going to stop from trying to get better. Yes. What do you hear about that situation right now? Because obviously they got to BS you and show confidence in the players they have. They always do that. They're not going to go, oh, no, yeah, we desperately need a corner because our group sucks. They're not going to tell you that. So what do you hear about any of that?
Yeah, I mean, Russell Douglas is a name to watch, obviously, as it's been out there that the Dolphins have offered him. So former Bills corner and someone who could slide right away into a starting spot, which is what you're looking for this team. And, obviously, Asante Samuel is the guy who I would like, Asante Samuel Jr., but we all saw what his dad said on a podcast about McDaniel. So, and Greer, both of them. So, you don't know there. Plus, he's got the neck issue that he was dealing with. So, those are the guys I look for. And of course, hey, you always have Xavier Howard or in the back of your mind. And Kendall Fuller was just on the team last year. So
stop hanging around Omar Kelly. Okay,
he's always going to be in the back of your mind. He's always going to. He's available.
Dude, they're not bringing back Xavier Howard, bro. Come on, dude. They're not. They have no.
I would see Russell Douglas as a favorite.
They have enough with Tyreek in the building. Okay. Do they really need to bring X-Man also, who has all kinds of issues off the field all the damn time and injuries? Plus, he is a shell of what he used to be. And by the way, here's where this story gets so silly by the media and apparently by the local media. The entire league has told X they don't want him. Why would the Dolphins want him? Like the entire league can sign X last year and this year, and nobody touches him with a 10-foot pole. So why is it a story here? I don't get it. Only because Omar Kelly throws the craziest shit out there on this beat, and it just gets traction because that's how this world is. The crazier shit you say, the more traction you get. But come on, dude. X-Man.
And because he's been here before. Yeah, there were 2 years where
he had for the minimum. That guy can't ask for any money. Nobody wants him. So if you could sign him for the minimum, why wouldn't you bring him over already? And camp already started, so it's not like you avoided the offseason with the stuff that we talked about, that these people usually don't want to sign some of these veterans because they don't want them to get injured during the offseason. So they'd rather wait till training camp to sign some of these guys. And perfect example. I don't know, bro. I just find it like a crazy story to be even talking about Xavier Howard,
bro. Just a name that you throw in there. Among guys who are available.
Clickbait, bro. That is pure clickbait.
But I'm never putting, unless it actually happens, I'm not putting him in a headline but I'll throw his name in there among available corners just so people know he is there.
You're Brody on the back of the boat in Jaws, just throwing out the chum. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. We will catch up on Friday, my friend. Have some fun out there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good. There you go. David Furones, Welt Rheaume, 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.